Hi, I'm Scott. Welcome to Synth Stuff. Today we are going to be talking about the Montage M7. I've had a whole bunch of people ask me questions about the new Montage M from Yamaha, and I'm going to try to answer as many of them as I can today in this video. First question I got, actually I got this one several times, is why did you get this synthesizer? It has Poly Aftertouch and you can't use it. Well, that's true. I got the Montage M7. The M6 and the M7 have the old Yamaha FSX keybed in it. It's the exact same keybed as in the old Montage. It has channel aftertouch. It does not have Poly Aftertouch. And Poly Aftertouch is one of the big new features of the Montage M. In order to get the Poly Aftertouch functionality, you have to get the M8X. The X refers to the new keybed. However, that means you have to have the graded hammer keybed, which is that weighted piano keybed, which doesn't really make sense to me. And a lot of people have said the same thing, that why would you put Poly Aftertouch on a keybed that is intended for piano players? Because Poly Aftertouch is traditionally the realm of synth players, and if you have a look at the Poly Aftertouch enabled patches inside the Montage, they are primarily synth patches. You don't have Poly Aftertouch on piano because a piano doesn't have Aftertouch at all. So why did they do that? I suspect that the reason is that they were developing the new graded hammer keybed for the Montage 8. They are going to add Polyphonic Aftertouch into the Montage, so the graded hammer keybed that they're developing has that built in. My suspicion is that there will be a future version, a few years down the line, there will be an M6X and M7X that has the new synth action key or semi-weighted keybed that has Polyphonic Aftertouch. That's the only thing that makes sense to me. So yes, it doesn't have Poly Aftertouch in the keybed, it does in the patches. And in fact, that's actually fairly common. There are a lot of synthesizers that, they may have Aftertouch and they may have the ability to play Polyphonic Aftertouch, but the keybeds can't produce it. So, does that mean, and this is another question I got, that if I have a keyboard like the Hydrasynth Deluxe over here that has Polyphonic Aftertouch, can I use it to play the Polyphonic Aftertouch enabled patches inside the Montage? And if so, what do you have to do in order to make that happen? The answer is yes, and the second answer is nothing. It just works. So basically, if I go into here, let's go into category, and we will search for anything that has PAT in it, which Poly Aftertouch tag they add, and we don't have, let's see, we don't have any other things other than just looking for anything ending in PAT, and you can see there's a whole bunch of them in there. So let's pick one here, ANX Sin Brass. How's that sound? No, that's not very good. As you can see, if I push even channel Aftertouch, it does nothing. However, I have the Hydrasynth set up. So if I go back over here, I have the Hydrasynth set up so that it is routing MIDI from the Hydrasynth through my DAW into the Montage. You don't have to do that. I just happen to have that because I have it so that any keyboard in my studio can route MIDI to any other keyboard in my studio. Yeah, I could just as easily take a DIN cable out of the Hydrasynth and plug it into the Montage. It would do exactly the same thing. So basically, anything I play on here is getting routed directly into the Montage. And as you can see, if I play on the Hydrasynth, so what you're hearing is the Montage, not the Hydrasynth. So I'm holding this chord down. If I press individual notes, you can hear them play. So yes, the answer is yes, you can play Polyphonic Aftertouch patches on the Montage from an external keybed. And what you were hearing there was ANX? Was that ANX? Yeah, that was. So that you were listening to the ANX engine, the new analog modeling engine in the Montage that was producing that patch. All right, that's the First question I had. MIDI 2.0. Is the Montage M capable of using MIDI 2.0? No. The answer is no. I don't think there is sufficient stuff in the Montage that is the same as the old Montage. I think they didn't rewrite the entire underlying operating system. I think there's a significant amount of the original code base in here. So they have the MIDI 1.0 in here. That said, I would not count out the possibility of future firmware upgrades enabling MIDI 2.0 in the Montage M. Of course, we have no idea if that's going to happen or not. Next question. Can you import backups or libraries from older Montages or MODXs into the new Montage M? And the answer is yes, you can. You can. The Montage M will directly read backup files or library files from the old Montage, the original Montage, or any generation of MODX. So you can load the original MODX, MODX Plus, Montage, or Montage M backups and libraries directly into your Montage M. It will read them and work just perfectly. I actually tested this myself. I loaded a Montage backup as well as a MODX backup into my Montage M. It read them perfectly. Everything worked exactly as expected. Same goes for the libraries. Okay, why can't the Montage have all the scenes on at the same time and blend with the faders live instead of just single sounds? Okay, so this is a question that came from a bit of misunderstanding. He saw the scene keys and thought, okay, well the scene keys enable the parts, and so you can have individual parts turned on. What he wanted to do was be able to use the sliders to adjust the levels of the parts. So if I had, I've only got a single part performance here, but let's go to a different category here. And let's say we had, I don't know, something with lots of parts. No, there's one. Okay, it's got tons of parts in there. And he wanted to be able to adjust the levels of all the different parts just by moving these sliders. And he said, why can't I do that? Well, obviously you can. What his misunderstanding was is he thought the scene buttons were referring to the individual parts and that that was turning on the individual parts using those scene buttons. That's not how the scene buttons work. The scene buttons are like snapshots. So if, let's say I had, I mean, you can feel free to do this live as you're playing, adjust these sliders to adjust the levels. However, if you want to, if you say I've got these levels set to a certain, you know, the different volumes of the different parts, okay, that's great. That's how I want to remember that. So all I do then is say Shift 2. Now I've saved the positions of those sliders into scene 2, and I can then move them around again. And for whatever part here, Shift 3. Now I've saved that into scene 3, and I can go back to those settings just by pressing those scenes. It's just like a quick snapshot of those things, but it doesn't mean I can go to scene 2 and then I can adjust it from there if I wanted to. So the answer is you can do both. You can actually recall them, or you can actually modify them on the fly. I did get one more question that I forgot to answer, and that was from someone who used to plug in a video capture card into the old Montage and you could capture the screen, and they wondered if the new Montage has the ability to do that as well. Clearly it does, as you've seen in this video, and you can see it actually puts the main screen here and it puts the sub screen, the little LCD, on the bottom of it, so you capture both of them together. So there's the answer to that question. Yes, you can capture the video on the new Montage. All right, next question. Flashing Superknob. The question was, can you turn off the flashing Superknob? When I first did my unboxing video, I was wondering about the Superknob because it now spins rather than flashes, and I said, oh, I like the original pulsing because it allows you to look at it and know the tempo very easily because you can see it pulsing at the tempo. And I said, I wish they had a way of switching that so that it would be pulsing rather than spinning, and I didn't see it in the utilities. And that's because I was looking in the wrong place. I was looking in the utility section where I thought it would be saved as a global value for the entire synthesizer. It's not. It's actually saved as part of the performance. So each performance can operate the knob in a different way, and the way you do that is by going into, is it motion control? Yes, motion control, and you see Superknob, and you can see LED pattern. And then just by changing that LED pattern, you can make it flash. So you can see now it's flashing, and you can have different colors, and you can have 2 colors or whatever you want. You can make it spin or flicker in different ways. So there's all kinds of different patterns and colors and shapes and whatnot. So you can make it do whatever you want, and you can make it change based on the performance that you're currently in. So the answer to that is yes, you can actually make it flash if you want, or turn it off entirely if that's what you're looking to do. The AWM2 engine, this person says, well, the samples in the Montage M come from the old Montage. How can it sound different or better? Okay, well, there's 2 ways for that. First off, it's not all just from the original Montage. If we have a look, if we do a category search, and we can go to attributes, and you can see there's actually Motif XF samples, there's original Montage samples, or Montage M samples that you can look up. So it actually goes all the way back to Motif. The Montage M samples are the larger ones. You'll see a lot of pianos in there. You can see like a Wurlitzer, and these are all the ones that are specific to the Montage M. They either have more samples in them, more layers, or ANX. So I don't know why that's such a fantastic trippy step split. If it has ANX, obviously it's going to be Montage M exclusive because there was no ANX before that. However, a lot of the piano type patches where it has different layers for different articulations, there's a lot more of those layers built in because you can have so many more elements per part. So they have built in velocity layers on the pianos, so the pianos are way, way more expressive and real sounding as you play them dynamically. So it gives you a lot more dynamic expression and dynamic range in the pianos. So that sounds better. But what I think this person was originally speaking to was that there's reports of it sounding better and just overall the synthesizer sounds better. And the way, and he says, how can that possibly be? Because the samples are exactly the same. Well, the thing is, you have an entirely new analog output section on the new Montage. The quality of the DACs have been improved, the quality of the support circuitry, the op amps and so on has all been improved in the new Montage M7 over the original Montage. I mean, the original Montage sounded good, it sounded better than the MODX, but this is a step above the original Montage, and it's noticeably better. It's not that there's a more of a better noise floor. I didn't really notice a noise floor in the original Montage. However, it definitely has more, I don't know how to describe it. It's almost warm. I hesitate to say warmth because people generally think that means low end, but it's a richer sounding. It just sounds more real. The frequency response, maybe it's flatter. I don't know what it is. I haven't actually put a scope up to it to have a look and see. But there's definitely a difference. I mean, as soon as I plugged it in and started playing some of my old familiar sounds, I'm like, whoa, that sounds different. So it's enough that I really noticed a difference. So yes, that does make a big difference. And that's basically where the better sound is coming from. The extra samples, of course, ANX engine, and the better output. Now, if you're using only the USB digital output of this, it makes no difference because you're just getting digital data. It's going to sound exactly as it did on the old Montage because the data is data. It's either there or it's not. You aren't even touching the analog circuitry in that case, so that has no effect. All right, next question. Does the M7 also have an internal fan and can you hear it? Yes, the new Montage M's, they have a much faster processor in it that makes the display much snappier. You see things like the real-time oscilloscope on there. There is no way that you could get a real-time oscilloscope happening on the original Montage. It just did not have the processing horsepower to do that. Something else that you'll notice that if I do normal FMX. Okay, so here's a FMX patch, and I'm going to add another FMX sound in here. That's a Wurlitzer. And then for part 3, we're going to add, I don't know, We'll just pick something at random here, DX7 organ. So, and then we'll pick one last one. So we've got, okay, so now we've got these 4 FMX parts, and you can see SSS has been disabled because I have too many elements selected, I believe. So here's these are 4 parts playing, my 4 FMX parts here. So now we're going to do a smart morph, which is where we take the various FMX parts and morph them together. And so we're going to do an analyze, and we'll just random learn. And you notice that took about a second. If I say learn again, a second. On the old Montage, that took about 15 seconds, 15, 20 seconds. And so now I've got this. So here's my smart morph results. And you can see I can drag that around the screen, and the actual dragging around is actually faster as well. So that's obviously means that the processor is much, much faster. Back to the original question about the fan, does that mean that this processor has a fan? Yes, it does, because it generates more heat. They need to get rid of that heat. There are no vents in the Montage. It's not blowing air out anywhere. And people are worried that they're going to be up on stage and have a fan whining away. I cannot hear the fan in this. I've actually even, I'm pretty sure that the fan only runs when the processor is under heavy load and it's actually working hard. But even then, I've put my ear up against it while I've been playing with parts, performance that has a ton of parts, and it's really, I know I'm really working it, and I can't hear a fan. So if there is a fan inside, and from what I hear there is, it's so silent that I can't hear it. I don't know if anybody else has said that they could hear it, but I definitely can't. And I've put this thing under quite a bit of load to try to get it to make a sound. I did get a question from someone about these colored lines. They didn't like that they were green or blue or whatever color they were. And the color of these lines, as well as the color of the buttons, actually changes depending on what mode it's in. And once again, you're going to see some flickering here. You don't see that in real life unless you move your eyes pretty quickly. Here we're editing operators in FM mode, so they're green. If I switch it so that we're editing part volumes, like you can see over here, I'm actually editing the part volumes, then they're blue. If we're editing audio, like USB or external audio input, it turns red. Part volume, it turns blue or cyan. I don't remember. There was another color in there as well. Same goes over here. You can see the live set and the category buttons. If it's blue, then if I hit live set, now these buttons are going to be able to select one of my live set options or performances just by pressing those buttons there. If I'm in category mode, now it's going to select categories, so I'm going to see my pianos or strings or whatnot. So it depends on what category or what mode you're in. These buttons do change color to help you give an indication as to what's going on. All right, that's the questions that I got this week from the Montage M. I apologize, I've been a little slow on videos. I was actually struck down by a nasty flu for about 2 weeks, and I got really behind on my videos. I do have more coming up on the Montage M. I'm going to put my old Montage right up next to it, and so we can get some comparisons. And then we will talk about the ANX engine. I know I've got a lot of requests to go over the ANX engine, and we will definitely do that because the ANX engine on this is fantastic. I'm in love with the new engine. So stay tuned. Make sure you subscribe to the channel because you aren't going to want to miss lots more Montage M content coming. If you have any questions, comments, suggestions, or requests, please leave them in the comment section below. I definitely read all those comments. And like this video was generated almost entirely from your questions, so keep them coming. I really appreciate it. If you like the video, click like, subscribe, all that good stuff. All right, thanks for watching.